This is one of my favorite days. And I say that a whole bunch, but this really is. I love playing with meditation because it's so very cool, it's so very powerful, and there's so many misconceptions about meditation. And once you get beyond the misconceptions, this has been a game changer for me, probably as much as any other thing that I've ever done in the over 30 years I've been playing with health and wellness things. This is one of those things that just virtual life-changing tool that I love sharing about. I've taught other people to meditate. I learned how to meditate back in 1988, and it's a long story I don't want to share with you about. I mean, I'd like to share with you, but it's too long, about how I learned. I was trained in TM, which is Transcendental meditation. Transcendental meditation, which back when I learned it in 1988, nobody that I knew anything about meditation. Nobody knew, except for there were some people who were really like the Beatles and people who had dabbled with it, but nobody that I knew of in Utah, well, except for the guy who taught us, us meaning my wife and I, we didn't know anyone who did meditation, who was sitting down and doing what you would call meditation. But when I was working, I worked for 2 years in a library, and during that time, I got to read a lot of books. I really, really fell in love with reading, and I came upon this section of books on meditation. And they were all dusty. Nobody ever read them, but I read them. And there was just dozens and dozens of studies that showed beneficial effects of meditation. Now, one of the reasons why I pursued it to the extent that I did back then was because when I was in my mid-20s, I was diagnosed with really high blood pressure. And they said, you're going to have to be on medication the rest of your life. You have high blood pressure. Your mom has high blood pressure. Your grandparents had a high blood pressure. You chose the wrong parents. Too bad. Do you know? And I do not like the idea of needing to depend on a chemical to keep me in balance. And I was eating well, you know, to the extent that we knew what eating well meant in 1988. And I was working out normally, you know, I was doing what everyone said this is what you're supposed to do to stay healthy. And yet my blood pressure was right clear up high. And they said, no, you're going to have to be on blood pressure medication. And so I remembered when I referred back to those books that I was reading, and one of the things it said is it tends to normalize blood pressure. I'm like, that sounds better than taking a pill every day, which my mom did and my grandparents did. And it also mentioned dozens of other things, and I'll mention just a couple things that are really cool studies that kind of motivated me additionally to learn how to do this.